spokesperson for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle saying the couple is being kicked out of their Windsor home, telling NBC News the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been requested to vacate their residence at Frogmore Cottage.
But the Sussexes are now very much second-row royals, taking their seats away from senior family members.
See that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were relegated to the second row during the Queen's funeral.
So let's talk about something that definitely, totally, 100% never happened. Because according to every official source, nothing unusual occurred. No exclusion, no tension, no awkwardness whatsoever. Buckingham Palace, silent as a tomb. Royal spokespeople, suddenly very busy with literally anything else. Official records, cleaner than the Queen's silverware. And yet here we are, about to watch a whole bunch of moments that individually mean absolutely nothing, but stacked together, well, chef's kiss. It's almost artistic. Look, I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm just a person with a YouTube channel, too much free time, and access to footage that's already public. What you do with that information is entirely up to you. But if you've ever wondered why the same totally random coincidences keep happening to the same person in the same institution run by some of the most protocol-obsessed people on the planet, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to review 10 moments that are completely normal, perfectly explainable, and definitely not part of a pattern. I'm sure the Palace PR team would agree, if they responded to anything, which they don't. How convenient. Let's get into it. When a king is crowned, the world watches. Gold, ceremony, history unfolding in real time. But sometimes what we don't see matters more than what we do. Meghan Markle wasn't at King Charles's coronation. No dramatic statement, no last-minute cancellation, just absence. And in royal terms, absence is its own kind of statement. Coronations aren't casual gatherings. Every invitation carries weight. Every seat placement has been debated and decided. So when someone's missing from that picture entirely, it raises questions the palace rarely answers directly.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, or the Sussexes rather, I should call them. Okay, the latest in the coronation. We now know that Harry is coming next month for the coronation. We know that Meghan is staying behind. Originally, we heard it was because it was Archie's 4th birthday, the kid's birthday. It's on the same day, the prince. Now we're hearing her spiritual advisor saying, well, actually, it's probably best you stay away.
Was it choice? Was it mutual understanding? Was it something else? We may never know for certain, but this moment didn't exist in isolation. It was part of something larger. Even grief has choreography in royal life. At Queen Elizabeth's funeral, the world expected unity, solemnity, togetherness. What played out was more complex. Meghan wasn't seated with the senior working royals, second row, visibly separated from the core family group. Now, there are explanations for this. Protocol dictates that working royals and non-working royals occupy different positions at state events. But protocol doesn't control optics, and the optics were noticed. Social media lit up immediately. Royal watchers dissected every camera angle. Because in moments of shared grief, distance feels deliberate, even when it follows the rules. The private reception afterward, world leaders attended. Senior royals hosted. Meghan was not on the guest list. Again, procedurally justified. Non-working royals, different tier of access. But when you're watching it unfold, procedure feels like something more. What made these moments significant wasn't drama. It was consistency, a pattern forming. Quietly, methodically, for generations, one image has defined royal legitimacy: the Buckingham Palace balcony. It's where the monarchy presents itself to the world, where hierarchy becomes visible without a single word being spoken. Early on, Meghan appeared there, front row, smiling, part of the picture. Then the invitation stopped. New policy, balcony appearances reserved for working royals only. Clean, administrative, defensible, but also surgical. Because the balcony isn't just a photo op, it's the frame the world remembers. The image that gets archived, republished, remembered. And once you're removed from that frame, something fundamental shifts. You're still family, still connected, but you're no longer part of the visual story being told. Other figures have disappeared from that balcony over the years. Each time, it marked a change in institutional standing, not punishment, recalibration, and that's what made this different from gossip or speculation. It wasn't emotional, it was structural. The Platinum Jubilee was designed to celebrate continuity, 70 years, stability, an unbroken institution. Meghan Markle, it became something else entirely, a visual reclassification. From the moment the cameras found her, the message was clear: no balcony appearance, second row seating, minimal interaction with senior royals. This wasn't accidental framing. The Jubilee is choreographed down to the inch. Who sits where is decided long before the doors open. And this time, Meghan wasn't placed near the center of power. She was placed in context, family, but not core. There were no tense exchanges, no visible hostility, just polite distance. And that's what made it sharp, because hostility invites debate. Distance ends it. Body language told the rest of the story. Short conversations, quick glances, no lingering moments caught on camera. Everything looked correct. And that was the point. This wasn't punishment, it was categorization. The monarchy wasn't reacting to drama, it was enforcing structure. For viewers, the downgrade was subtle. For royal watchers, it was unmistakable. This wasn't about feelings, it was about function. Once someone is removed from the balcony and repositioned in the seating, the hierarchy is settled. And after the Jubilee, something even more tangible changed. Meghan didn't just lose symbolic presence, she began losing physical access to royal space itself. Power isn't lost all at once. It's lost through distance. After stepping down as working royals, Meghan and Prince Harry were asked to vacate Frogmore Cottage. Officially, the explanation was simple. Royal housing is reserved for those serving the institution. Practically,
For the Sussexes to give up Frogmore Cottage, of course, which is in the grounds of Windsor Castle. Reports have claimed the move was sanctioned.
the message went deeper. Frogmore wasn't just a residence. It was a foothold, a permanent address inside the royal estate, a signal of belonging. When that access was removed, the separation became structural. No more arriving unnoticed. No more informal proximity to senior royals. No more being part of the daily rhythm of palace life. Distance was no longer symbolic, it was physical. Again, there was no drama, no public dispute, no emotional language, just a policy applied. And policies inside the monarchy are never neutral. They define who is inside the system and who is visiting it. Once Frogmore was gone, every return required permission. Every presence became scheduled. Every interaction became formal. The quiet ease of access disappeared, and with it, influence. Because in royal culture, closeness creates relevance. Distance dissolves it. This wasn't about punishment or resentment. It was about architecture. Who lives within the walls and who no longer does. And even when Meghan and Harry were inside palace grounds, something else became clear. Certain doors were now closed. And when they crossed one of them, the system responded immediately. During a palace event, something small but telling reportedly occurred. Meghan and Harry entered an area designated for senior working royals only. There was no scene, no confrontation. Palace staff quietly redirected them to the appropriate space. That was it. To outsiders, this sounds trivial, a simple mistake. Inside institutional systems, it's a signal. The monarchy doesn't argue, it adjusts. At one point, Meghan moved through those spaces freely. No questions, no escorts. Now, access required navigation. The system had updated its permissions. And when systems update, they don't explain themselves. They simply operate according to new parameters. In royal society, timing is language. How long you stay matters. When you leave matters more. At a private birthday gathering for then Prince Charles, reports suggested something felt off. The atmosphere was polite, civil, but noticeably brief. According to multiple accounts, Meghan appeared ready to leave early, not because of conflict, but because the welcome felt limited. Shortly after, the couple was reportedly escorted out sooner than expected.
Thank you so much. Nice
I can't for the camera.
You too. For this, I appreciate it.
No announcement, no awkward scene, just an early ending. In most families, that wouldn't mean much. In royal social culture, it speaks volumes. Because invitations aren't about inclusion, they're about tolerance. Staying late signals comfort, lingering signals approval, leaving early signals closure. And this wasn't an isolated signal. Similar patterns appeared at other private engagements. Brief conversations, formal smiles, no relaxed moments. Everything was correct and distant. That distance matters, because royal power doesn't just live in titles, it lives in access. Who gets time? Who gets attention? Who gets energy? And Meghan's time inside those circles was shrinking, not through confrontation, through politeness, which is far more final, because when the royal family decides to reduce social access, it's rarely reversed. They don't push people out, they let the moment end. And once moments stop being extended, the message is already delivered. And soon, that distance wasn't just social, it became personal, because even the Queen herself began stepping back, quietly, deliberately, and without explanation. When access begins to disappear, explanation explanations usually disappear with it. Around this time, reports described an awkward moment involving a planned theater engagement. The event was canceled, but Meghan reportedly arrived anyway. There was no confrontation at the door, no public correction. She was politely informed there was no role for her that evening and escorted back to Buckingham Palace. The moment barely made headlines. And that's what made it telling, because when the Queen disapproved, she didn't dramatize it. She distanced herself. Sources later suggested that Queen Elizabeth II began limiting direct interaction. Not out of anger, not out of resentment, out of clarity. The monarchy doesn't operate on emotion. It operates on boundaries. And when those boundaries are crossed, the response isn't punishment, it's space. Meetings became less frequent, opportunities became fewer, communication became formal. The warmth never turned into hostility, it simply faded. That shift matters, because the Queen's approval wasn't loud, but her withdrawal was unmistakable. Once that distance was established, it reshaped everything else. Who could advocate? Who could intervene? Who could soften decisions? Without proximity to the monarch, influence evaporates. And this wasn't personal in presentation, it was institutional in effect. By the time the public noticed, the change was already complete. And yet this pattern didn't begin in London. It started much earlier, on foreign soil, with a red carpet, and a moment the cameras captured before anyone understood what it meant. Actually, this pattern started much earlier, on foreign soil, with a red carpet. The first correction always matters most. Because it sets the tone for everything that follows. During an official royal visit to Morocco, the cameras captured a brief but revealing moment. Prince Harry stepped forward for a ceremonial inspection. The red carpet was positioned for him alone. Meghan followed instinctively. For a split second, she stepped ahead. Then it happened. A palace aide gently redirected her back. No tension, no embarrassment on the surface, just a quiet adjustment. Officially, it was minor. Symbolically, it was significant. Royal tours are tightly choreographed. Every step is planned, every role is assigned, and this moment showed the hierarchy in motion. Harry had the role, Meghan did not. The system corrected itself immediately. What made this moment important wasn't the redirection, it was the precedent. From that point on, similar corrections followed, smaller, quieter, more frequent, each one reinforcing the same message. Position matters. Order matters, and stepping out of it triggers an instant response. The monarchy doesn't tolerate confusion in public. It resolves it silently. This wasn't a rebuke, it was training, a signal of where the line was drawn. And once a line is drawn in royal protocol, it rarely moves. This moment didn't cause the later distance. It foreshadowed it, because systems remember first corrections. And from that day forward, the pattern had already begun. But outside palace grounds, something else became clear. Royal status has limits. And beyond those limits, it doesn't always translate. Royal status feels absolute until it isn't. Outside the palace walls, hierarchy loses its automatic power. And one reported incident made that painfully clear. At a Michelin star restaurant, a request was allegedly made for special treatment tied to royal association. Not a demand, a suggestion. The response was simple. No exceptions. No rearranging tables, no bending rules. To most people, this would be unremarkable. To someone used to institutional deference, it was revealing, because royal privilege only functions inside royal systems. Within the palace, hierarchy is enforced. Outside it, it must be earned. And this moment echoed everything that came before it. Status without structure doesn't carry weight. Once Meghan stepped outside the institution, the title no longer opened doors automatically. It didn't command silence. It didn't demand accommodation. It became contextual. This wasn't rejection, it was reality. And it reinforced the broader theme unfolding across years. Access had been shrinking, visibility had been reduced, boundaries had been enforced. Not through confrontation, through consistency. Every moment pointed to the same conclusion. Royal identity only works when paired with royal rules. Once those rules no longer applied, the power faded. And that's what makes the entire pattern impossible to ignore. Individually, each incident can be explained. Together, they form a trajectory, one of repositioning, not expulsion. And in the royal family, repetition is never accidental. It's the system speaking, quietly and very clearly. When you step back and look at all of this together, the picture sharpens. None of these moments were loud. None of them were explosive. They were quiet, measured, consistent, shrinking visibility, reduced access, firm boundaries, not a dramatic exit, a controlled repositioning. And that's how the royal system operates. It doesn't argue in public. It doesn't explain itself. It simply adjusts the frame. If this story surprised you, the next one cuts even deeper. Because while cameras were quietly moving Meghan out of view, another battle was unfolding in a place with no royal choreography at all. A courtroom where patience ran thin, tensions exploded, and authority pushed back hard. A moment where emotions spiraled, warnings were issued from the bench, and even the legal team couldn't hold the line. That breakdown breakdown reveals far more about what happens when royal expectations collide with real-world consequences. You don't want to miss that one. Watch it next. This is Star Spotlight, where power fades, patterns emerge, and the truth hides in plain sight.